Amman over there, that's where we're going to be actually going. The airport's over in that direction. You can see over here, that's the Dead Sea. That's the north end of the Dead Sea. This is the Jordan River Valley in all the haze. So if you go up that way north, you'll be back up at the Sea of Galilee. The ridge that you can't see on the other side is Israel. Jordan would be right about there. They're excavating a place called Tel El Hammam, which we weren't able to go to for political reasons, but we were hoping to. It's right down in this area, right in here. That's suspected, very strongly suspected to be Sodom. Also a place called Abel Shittim, which I hate saying this because in the Bible sometimes there's an awkward word translated into English, but Abel Shittim is what it's called, and it's right down there. It was built over the top of Sodom. That's where Moses put his hands on Joshua and committed the children of Israel to him. And then Moses came up here, and where he was able to see the promised land, and then he died. God did his funeral. How'd you like to have a funeral like that? And somewhere up in here there was a grand battle between Michael and Satan over the body of Moses at some point. Nobody knows where, and it's a spiritual realm anyway where it was happening, but I sure would have loved to have seen it. So maybe God took a video of it or something for heaven. I don't know. I'm being facetious, and how wide is a lightning bolt? Anyway, so here's the thing. Moses wasn't allowed to go into the promised land. You guys remember why?
Yes.
Okay. He was, first time the people were complaining and they didn't have any water, and God tells Moses, take the staff and smite the rock, hit this rock. Well, I mean, it may have been where we were today. In that same, maybe, who knows, but maybe. So, I mean, I hate to say maybe. I want to say, yeah, it was here, but we got to be honest. You know, when we don't know, we don't know. But it may have been. He smacks that rock, and water gushes out, and a couple of million people plus their animals are able to drink pure water. But then, a second time, the people are complaining and griping and murmuring, and we need water. And and Moses prays, and God says, okay, we're going to do it again. This time, speak to the rock. Remember? Mm-hmm. Speak to the rock. Now, there's all kinds of great symbolism in that. We're not going to even get into that because I think you already know where that's going. But instead of hitting the rock, speak to the rock. Moses gets up in front of the people, and for the second time, he says, this is a really important statement, but he said, must we smite this rock a second time? And he goes, whack, whack. And it opens up, and water gushes out, and God says, Moses, come here. We got to talk. Because Moses misrepresented God when he did that. Mm-hmm. Now, how did he misrepresent God when he did that? Why is it such a serious thing? Because of one very obvious, simple word. He said, must we. We. God had nothing to do with the we part of that. God wasn't mad. Because of all people who knew this, Moses knew it better than anyone else. From the third time I mention it, the third time I quote it, and it's great to pretty much conclude this whole part of the tour, even though we have one more quick stop, beautiful stop at sunset and all of that. We'll get there in a little bit. But, you know, God told Moses, remember, the Lord Yahweh, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, giving love to the 1,000th generation, forgiving wickedness, forgiving rebellion, forgiving sin. And God told the people, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, giving love to the 1,000th generation, forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin, was mad at them. And he's going to hit a rock, because must we hit this rock again? You see how bad the misrepresentation was? God wanted his people to know that, yeah, there are times when he got mad, but God's anger is never spontaneous. He doesn't just flare up and go, wow, that just made me really mad. Because he's the God who knows everything, the end from the beginning. All his anger, when it does show up, you got to remember, it's calculated perfectly. It fits what's going on, and nothing surprises him. The last time you sinned, God didn't go, oh my goodness, did you really do that? He doesn't do that. It's all calculated. So when God heard Moses, knowing he was going to say it anyway, say the word we. That was it. The people needed a severe lesson to know how severely loving and compassionate God is, and how slow to anger he really is. That's why Moses couldn't go in the land. And the best he could do was he was allowed to come up somewhere near this spot. Remember, mountains are known by ridges, so it could have been over there, could have been right here. This is a very obvious place, that's why they put the church here, or along here, but he was able to look over and see the promised land from a vantage point exactly like this, maybe exactly here, we don't know, and see the promised land before he died. After he died, the children of Israel crossed over when the Jordan was at flood stage, 2 miles wide when it flowed into the Dead Sea at that point, and it dried up like dry land, another parting of miraculous proportions. That's the reason why Moses couldn't go in, because God is compassionate and gracious and slow to anger and abounding in love and faithfulness and so forth. And that's why Jesus said, when you've seen the Father, you've seen me. Because the God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament. It's not God after he became a Christian. So there's Jesus saying, you want to know what I'm like? Look at, well, excuse me, God's saying, if you want to know what I'm like, look at Jesus. That's the way I've always been. There you go. Mount Nebo and Moses' vantage point.